Viewers, Pakistan today launched a hysterical attack on India at the UNHRC. Curiously, Rahul Gandhi's vitriolic statements against Modi after the dilution of Article 370 was the basis of Pakistan's 115-page anti-India dossier. In fact, Rahul's face was on the cover of the dossier. Apart from Rahul, who played the lead role in supplying Pakistan the ammunition it needed to try and ambush India at the UNHRC, also liberally quoted remarks were attributed to Shehla Rashid, Omar Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti in a bid, obviously, to mislead the international community into thinking that India was crushing the rights of ordinary Kashmiris. Viewers, a lot has been said by these individuals. The BJP calls them Pakistan's Trojan hordes because they're not one, they're not two, there are several hundreds. The most famous, of course, have been quoted by Pakistan in this dossier that they have put out. And in page after page, their names constantly recur so that Pakistan can use them as fodder to attack India. Now, moments after Pakistan presented its fake case, India responded with venom just about 20 minutes back to expose Islamabad. Now, let's go one by one over the Pakistani lies and India's response, rebuttal, exposing them one by one. Shah Mahmood Qureshi quoting India's leaders. Remember what the Congress party said, viewers, in Parliament? Atrocities in Jammu and Kashmir, not India's internal matter. You will recall how a leading light from the Congress party said Pakistan should have been consulted. So they used, viewers, a Congress party statement to suggest that Jammu and Kashmir was not India's internal matter. Now, viewers, listen to India's response, delivered with panache. Listen to this.
The decisions were taken by our Parliament after a fully televised debate and enjoys widespread support. These were sovereign decisions, entirely internal to India. No country can accept interference in its internal affairs. Certainly not India.
There you go, unambiguously stated by India that Kashmir is India's internal affair and that no intervention can be brooked by any country, certainly not India in its internal affairs. The second, Shah Mahmood Qureshi lie, India using terror to divert attention of the world. Listen to this strong, hard-hitting, short, succinct response from India.
This country conducts cross-border terrorism as a form of alternate diplomacy.
Then she went on to say, in response to Pakistan's third major charge, genocide alert in Kashmir due to military action. Remember who said this, viewers? Who said this? Shehla Rashid. Who said this? Ghulam Nabi Azad. When they talked about concentration camps and youth being abducted in the middle of the night and tortured. Here's India's response to this completely fallacious charge.
The world is aware that this fabricated narrative comes from the epicenter of global terrorism, where ringleaders are sheltered for years. This country conducts cross-border terrorism as a form of alternate diplomacy.
There you heard it, viewers, once again. Sharp response. There was another Pakistani lie. Atrocities in Jammu and Kashmir, not India's internal matter. So forget about what happens in Kashmir. But also the atrocities there are not India's internal matter. Well, India had a response to that also. Listen to this, viewers.
The decisions were taken by our Parliament after a fully televised debate and enjoys widespread support. These were sovereign decisions, entirely internal to India. No country can accept interference in its internal affairs, certainly not India.
The point is, viewers, that Pakistan's entire 115-page dossier was based on information that was supplied, on information that has been telecast on Indian media, international media, by whom? By a certain group of Indians themselves. So it was very easy for Pakistan to say Rahul Gandhi, Shehla Rashid, individuals in the civil space, individuals in the opposition like Omar Abdullah, Mehbooba Mufti, are all making these claims. They took advantage, viewers, of our open democracy. They took advantage, viewers, most importantly, of the fact that the Indian state does not curtail and does not curb freedom of expression. But India has called Pakistan's attack fabricated. The question is, who has supplied the fabrication? And by doing so, have they done a great disservice to India's cause? Let's open this out for debate. Joining us this evening are a number of panelists. I just want to, first of all, bring in Mr. Srivastava, journalist formerly with the BBC and many other Indian organizations, senior journalist. Now, Sanjeev ji, I just want to ask you a simple question. You might have seen the document that runs into 115 pages. You know that it is laced with claims, unverified as they are, by Indian leaders, by Indian civil rights groups, by human rights organizations, and they have provided Pakistan this fodder. Do you think this was right on the part of certain individuals in our country to misuse freedom of expression and supply or make unsubstantiated allegations? The problem is these allegations are unsubstantiated.
Hi, thank you, Rahul. See, first of all, I would like to make my stand very clear.
Yeah.
That on the issue of Article 370 and the subsequent actions taken by the government, I have written about it also, and I am fully in support of the government action. We have also talked about in the past that how in an ideal world we would like to have no communications blacked down and full internet services, but when the choice is between possible violence, possible threat of use of internet by separatists and freedom for every citizen, my vote will be for clamp down so that at least law and order is maintained and no violence and innocent lives are lost. Having said that, yes, people like Ghulam Nabi Azad, Shehla Rashid, even Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary have made politically, inappropriate and somewhat incorrect and politically incorrect as well as somewhat stupid statements which could have been used and which have been used by Pakistan. But again, like you said, Rahul, where I disagree a little bit, what is the beauty of India? That we are a vibrant democracy. The decision was taken by the parliament. Yes, there was dissent in the parliament and some leaders may not have agreed with the Indian government's decision. Now, whether that is used by Pakistan or Timbuktu is again what is much better in international opinion and by international perspective, that there is dissent within India only, rather than bother about Pakistan etc. saying that we are an open state, an open society, a democratic society where even on an issue like this there is a divergence of opinion, which is fine. I think let us not get carried away by how Pakistan has used somebody or something, because really Pakistan doesn't matter, and their statements taking from Congress leaders or Shehla Rashid, it doesn't give them any more credence than they would have otherwise had, which is zilch. Look at their own record in Balochistan, in Sindh, with NQM. They are the last persons on earth to teach anybody human rights. That's my point.
Let me bring in Dr. Anand Ranganathan on this. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, Sanjeev Srivastava says that these individuals, have a right to criticize the government. This is an open democracy. They could have been a little bit more, perhaps, judicious in the words they employed, but you cannot suggest that their comments have played into enemy hands. That would be stretching it too much. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, good evening. Thanks very much. Well, if the enemy is as stupid as these people who making these scurrilous remarks, then yes, of course, Sanjeev is right. You can't blame either of the two. But I'd just like to make a couple of points out here. One on the issue specifically on Kashmir, and the other on the UNHRC, because I think it's very important that our viewers know the antecedents of the kind of people who are deliberating this in Geneva. This organization is like a Kumbh Mela of hypocrites. It's like Osama bin Laden and Hafiz Saeed promoting world peace. The members of UNHRC is China, interned 1 million Muslims in concentration camps, forcing them to drink alcohol and eat pork. You have Saudi Arabia, whose de facto chief has just killed chopped up a journalist in the whole glare of the world. And incidentally, 3 years ago, the UNHRC offered a prize seat to Saudi Arabia. Third, we have Pakistan as a member. And the millions of Baluchis would have something to say to that. The millions of the lakhs and lakhs of minorities who are persecuted, including Aisha, the Christian. And as you rightly said in your very nice piece today, Rahul, the Organization of Islamic Conference does not accept the Declaration of Human Rights, Universal Human Rights. What are these guys talking about? Now let me come specifically to the issue of Kashmir. As we know, all these guys for 70 years were completely silent on the blatant trampling of human rights of lakhs of Dalits, of Valmikis, of women in Kashmir, of Gorkhas and of refugees. They had nothing else to say when human rights were being trampled by the imposition of Article 370 in this thing, and now, based on scurrilous propaganda, no doubt spread by the political parties and chiefs like Rahul Gandhi and all, or foreign press propaganda, these guys have actually ratcheted up the tension out there. So they have to be ignored, and if they cannot be ignored, they should not be endured at least for more than a day. That is what I would like to say.
Okay, Sabha Naqvi. And I want to also bring in Amit Malviya at this point. Sabha Naqvi, I want to ask you, is Pakistan's dossier the ultimate confirmation of how comments made by Indian opposition politicians and the lobby, unsubstantiated comments, have played into enemy hands? It's a straightforward, simple question to you.
I have earlier in your program said that the Congress as a party has to be very careful about phraseology and using words as a party. However, I entirely disagree with your whole thought. It's Orwellian in its saying that we cannot say we lose the freedom to critique and to say because it may go against the government, and in a globalized world somebody may pick up something. That, I repeat, the Congress party should be careful in the usage of word on a matter which the government of India would have known when all these moves were made, would inevitably end up in this UN. There would be a debate, right? We all know that. They would have been prepared for this. The Congress should be careful. However, I entirely disagree with the suggestion that you delegitimize people who will critique, who will raise questions. And thirdly, Rahul, I would like to bring your attention. You have mentioned Omar Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti. For God's sake, their voices cannot be heard for a long time. So we are talking about pre-abolition of Article 370. So let us be a little fair that many Kashmiri voices cannot be heard. Those leaders who operated within the framework of Indian democracy are voiceless today.
Okay.
We have to accept that before you thrust a certain, so
narrative.
We have to be fair, even-handed. And we have to cherish, and finally to Anand Ranganathan, I appreciate what Anand has said. He has mentioned China, he's mentioned Saudi Arabia. Do we actually, how on earth are we comparing ourselves to the non-freedoms of those countries?
Okay.
One of the greatest gifts we have is
Let
our
me
freedom.
first clarify.
So I would like India to be a country where we do not delegitimize dissent, criticism, and we do
maybe
not call
this-
it, anti-national, because I mean, the
I think
Pakistan
it
will
is
pick up
very
anything
important
right now. The
for
government
this
of India would
journalist
have been
to
prepared
understand
for a debate in the UN,
that as a-
HRC.
Okay.
As I
Anyway.
already said, we will not. India should not take lying down these sermons from people who are hypocrites. That was the whole point I was making. Maybe
Sure.
it went above the head of this journalist.
That's
So
appreciated.
it's like,
That
taking
point is
lessons on
appreciated.
properties from
You are
Osama
talking
bin
about
Laden.
individual
Okay,
NGOs.
let's get back to the
I
main.
am talking
Let's
on
get
a
back to the
slightly
main
larger
debate
level.
here. Let's get back to the main
not-
debate. Sabah Naqvi, first of all, I just want to make clear.
Not to you.
I just want to make clear, Sabah
I'm
Naqvi,
not
that
interested in having a.
okay, I just want to make clear, Sabah Naqvi, that I am not making any statements. It was only a question, and the question was open-ended. Have these individuals, have Indian politicians, with their unsubstantiated, please mark the emphasis, unsubstantiated statements, ended up empowering, emboldening Pakistan to today, despite all its atrocities, stand
Absolutely
up and
they
dare to shame India at the UNHRC. I only asked an open question. I am not making any.
Yeah, so I can
no,
answer that.
1 minute. I'm not
I think
making.
the Congress is inept.
No, that doesn't excuse.
Congress is handling
Ineptitude
nothing
is
with
not
any
a response, but
professionalism
it's
these
not
days.
for me to.
But
It's not for me to call out the Congress. I am
Rahul
only
Shivshankar,
stating.
what I'm saying is, regardless, Pakistan
One
would have
second.
raised it.
It's very easy. It's very
Pakistan
easy.
would have raised
On
this
what
issue
basis,
anyway.
ma'am? How would
that
they have
doesn't
raised?
mean that
How
I'm
would
going
they
to
have
stop
known, for
critiquing
instance, that
things.
Shehla Rashid,
Because tomorrow
and I've got
somebody
the
may
point
pick
that
up my
Shehla Rashid has
criticism,
made. How would we say, and this is a fact, how would they know that people were being picked up in the middle of the night, tortured, had Shehla Rashid not put it out, only to be contradicted by Kashmiris? But that's a separate matter. Since we're so touchy about taking these individuals on, I want to bring in the BJP. Now, the BJP has called these leaders, Mr. Malviya, Trojan hordes. Many horses, a big horde, Trojan horde. Why do you use this word?
Well, Rahul, I think we all should be very clear about one thing.
Yes.
That you are free to critique the government and what it does. But when your statements and those which are unsubstantiated and have no basis get used as evidence by an enemy country, then you have to be called out on the kind of politics that you are practicing. And Rahul Gandhi and Omar Abdullah are guilty of that. Let's make no bones about it. This also applies to journalists who have access to foreign media or even our own media, and they comment on it and they refer to what's happened in Kashmir in terms which would endear them to Pakistan. It applies to them as well, and there are few on your panel who I shall not name. But having said that, what does Pakistan gain by going to the UNHRC? Well, there are 47 members there, and they require a simple majority of 24 to get any kind of discussion or any kind of statement, if you like, and they have not been able to even manage that. Forget a statement, they have not been able to even press for an urgent debate on it. So it essentially tells you that Pakistan's only intention is to muddy waters, is to deflect from the dissidents that's brewing in its own backyard, the Baluchs, the Pakistan illegally occupied area of Kashmir. And there are several such cases of minority persecution in those own countries. They want to deflect attention from them. And people like Rahul Gandhi and Omar Abdullah are useful idiots in the hands of the propaganda machinery that the Pakistan establishment of the deep state has unleashed. Now, whether or not Rahul Gandhi wants to be one is a question that the Congress party needs to ask
Important point.
and the people of this country are watching. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
What's happened in Kashmir is an internal affair of India. The abrogation of 370 is an absolutely constitutional provision, and it has been done in the legal framework. And lastly, I keep hearing people saying, oh, the Kashmiris haven't been consulted. How do you know that? The fact is, when 370 was implemented were the Kashmiris consulted that they would be discriminated as a result of 370? The answer is no. The power in Kashmir got vested in the hands of a few families, and the rest of the people suffered.
Okay.
But the Kashmiris asked at that point.
We'll come to that
so
point.
these arguments are very
And
selective.
also
They are
that, please
intended.
remember.
We'll come to
benefit
all
from
those
the
points. I need to
conflict
bring in
economy.
Mr. Bhadra
And
Kumar.
we have
Internet
already
and
identified
the
these
network
people.
services
Let me bring in Mr. M.K. Bhadra Kumar.
has been taken up by the Supreme Court.
Okay, fair enough. All these issues are with the Supreme Court. India is not running away. Its state is not running away. The center is not running away. But there are certain individuals building a narrative. Now, Mr. Bhadra Kumar, I want to ask you, at a time when Pakistan's credibility internationally is nil, and it stands totally isolated, as you have seen, have the lobbies allegations, the opposition's allegations, the human rights groups' allegations in India, which have been unsubstantiated, let me tell you that, given Pakistan a fig leaf, a lifeline?
You know, my experience with this subject tells me that really we don't need to be worried much about it. I go along almost entirely with what Mr. Srivastava said right in the beginning of this discussion. My mind goes back to the early 90s when a similar situation, a comparable situation like this existed, both in the internal dimension, the ground realities in J&K, a bloody insurgency, much more violent perhaps than even today, and the international dimension. You know, Rahul, you may be interested to know that in the MEA, we had a cell, in fact, to cull out statements of this kind by Pakistani personalities. So, you know, let's not be new kids on the block. Pakistan does it, India does it. It really doesn't do any harm. In fact, we have turned the table around.
India
and told
does it.
People that human
India
rights
fakes
issues,
news on
we
Pakistan.
don't
Is
need
that
any
what you're
watchdog.
suggesting?
Yeah,
India fakes news.
I didn't suggest anything of the kind.
No, but
I didn't
Pakistan is
suggest anything.
faking news,
Please
sir.
listen carefully. What I'm saying. No. What I'm saying is that culling out remarks by Pakistani people, by Indian people, and using them for adding masala to the narrative is something which both countries have done in the past. I don't think this is anything new. No damage is done ultimately, because India's best argument, like Mr. Srivastava said, is that we don't need any watchdog, because we have such an atmosphere here that a range of opinion, highly critical of the government, is also available inside.
So, Mr. Bhadra Kumar, then can I ask you a
That
question?
only shows that.
No, since both Mr. Srivastava and Mr.
Yeah.
Bhadra Kumar
Please.
are lauding India's open democracy, would you then be critical, sir, of the narrative that is pushed, that there is a blackout, that individuals who speak against the government are thrown into jail, Mr. Bhadra Kumar, that individuals who speak to power are in some ways or the other disenfranchised? Will you concede that that is also fakery? That is the misuse of free speech?
I would suggest, Rahul, that you take up from your file the opening speech in this UNHRC session in Geneva by Michelle Bachelet, the Human Rights Commissioner of the United Nations. She has said all these things which you have said. I mean, do you suggest that, that she was actually flaunting fake news? In this era.
No, why would I not say
internet,
that? So 1 minute, let me tell you, sir. This is the UNHRC. I've written a piece today. I did some research. I wanted to go into the depths of this subject.
No, in a corruption scandal.
No, 1 second.
Involving her son and daughter-in-law.
That, of course, is true. But that's a personal issue, and I don't want to drag that into this. But when you look at the UNHRC, its member states that seem to get elected with regular monotony are China. Number one. Number two, Pakistan, that is supposed to have been a signatory to the UNHRC, has not ratified two very important covenants. You know why, sir? You know why? Because of 5 reasons. And those reasons are so flimsy that you will be shocked. They have a problem, for example, sir, with the fact that the United Nations Convention asks them, and let me read out, asks them to appreciate equality between the rights of men and women. Pakistan said this is not acceptable to us. It says the right to inherent life and death penalty abolition. It has opposed this. It goes on to say freedom of choice of religion and no coercion. We are not going to be bound by this. Yet, sir, the UNHRC has made Pakistan a full member. So Pakistan basically, sir, is getting away with blasphemy laws, rampant imposition of religious laws to subjugate its women, a history of extrajudicial killings in Balochistan, and its prescription, sir, of democratic rights in POK. Because it is not a signatory to all the enabling covenants. And the UNHRC gives Pakistan a platform. The first thing the UNHRC should be doing, sir, is to be listening and following the example, sir, of the Commonwealth of Nations that throughout suspended Pakistan for suspending its own democracy not once but twice. But this UNHRC allows Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, China, hideous, monstrous abusers of human rights to preach to others. What UNHRC are you talking about, Mr. Bhadra Kumar, and why, in God's name, should I take Miss Bishanay's views as being the gospel? You tell me now, Mr. Bhadra Kumar. You've been in the MEA. You tell me.
Exactly.
You tell me, sir. You've served this country. You tell me. You have faith in the UNHRC? Where was the UNHRC, sir, all these years when Yugoslavia's Muslims were butchered? When Western democracies did not allow Syrian children who died on beaches to land and take refuge? Where was this UNHRC?
No, let's not waste.
Let's not waste. You answer the question.
Let's not waste
No,
time.
you answer the question since you are the one who brought in UNHRC chief. Please tell me. Please tell me.
If you're finished.
Please tell me, sir.
Shocking.
If you finished.
Now you've cornered him and now he's saying you're wasting time.
If you finished your monologue, let me come in. I am not cornered, I am at home.
Stop
and there's no
mocking,
question
answer
of my
the
being
question.
cornered. Just don't say such things, you know.
Mr. Bhadra Kumar, you say that you believe that we must all believe the UNHRC chief and that we must not doubt her words. I'm asking you, sir, do you believe in the UNHRC? First, let's ask that question.
He never said that.
It's not a question of faith or belief.
Oh.
It's a question, it's a matter of reality, geopolitical reality.
So is the UNHRC, sir,
called the UNHRC?
Is the UNHRC an organization that has established itself as a credible defender of human rights? That's the question I'm asking you. Answer me that question.
Yeah. Promoting Saudi Arabia
comes under the United Nations umbrella.
I don't care what comes under the UN umbrella, sir. The same United Nations doesn't allow India a seat on the United Nations Security Council. 1.3 billion Indians, i.e. a sixth of humanity, doesn't have a say. This is the same UN you are defending.
Look.
Come on.
Look, Mr.
Bhadra Kumar, you serve the Indian state.
Who cares?
You know the game.
Don't care about
you know the
Nations.
game. Don't try to be sanctimonious here. Don't be sanctimonious.
Why does you read out excerpts of the statement made by India? Why does India, the government of India, why does the Modi government take the UNHRC so seriously? In that case,
sir, India is only defending its fair name against fake propaganda. Amit Malviya, you want to respond to Mr. Bhadra Kumar? You want to explain to him, sir? You want to explain to him?
It should ignore.
You want to explain to him, sir? The Indian government does it to expose the hypocrisy of its greatest critics.
Why get excited?
Let him respond. Let him respond.
What are we trying to debate?
Let him respond.
Rahul,
Are
I'm
we
quite
trying to debate
amused
UNHRC
that a former
or
official of the
Pakistan's
MEA
case?
would suggest that the government of India must not even respond to the fake allegations being made by a country on the UNHRC platform, however irrelevant or discredited it may be. But I am quite shocked, honestly, at the kind of assertion that's being made. India has the right to defend itself. It has the right to clarify any malicious campaign being run against it, and India definitely has the right to tell the world that what it is doing is its internal affair, it's constitutional, it's within the legal framework, and we broke no interference from any other country. And as far as the world order is concerned, they believe what India has said, and that's where the matter rests. We are debating here how certain politicians from the opposition have been irresponsible to make statements which are being used as evidence by a rogue country like Pakistan. And those who are defending what Pakistan is doing are essentially playing into the hands of those who want to weaken India, its democratic traditions.
Let me ask
that
Mr. Razak.
should not be lost on anyone.
Let me ask Mr. Razak in 2 minutes, viewers. India's right to respond is going to be telecast live on India Upfront. Please stay tuned for that. We're coming in that 2 minutes, exactly 2 minutes. I'm being told that that particular right to respond will be coming up. It's also only going to be 2 minutes long. So whatever India has to say in its defense has to be summed up in 2 minutes. But I want to bring in Mr. Razak. While India successfully demolished the claims made by Pakistan, Mr. Razak, and you heard India's rebuttal, should the lobby and the opposition today introspect about their refusal to take a united stand? Simple question.
Rahul, no doubt the entire country, including the opposition, is united stands with the government. Now, first of all, today, questioning the government has become an anti-national act.
No one is saying
Otherwise,
that, sir.
under a democracy, the basic right of the opposition, basic duty of the opposition is to question the government. When you question the government,
question the government all the time.
Picked up by an enemy nation.
This is
we
a very
are being
old
branded
victim
as
card.
your
Stop playing the
sentences
victim
are
card
being
here.
there. Fodder for them to go to UNHRC. Sir, Pakistan has been shamed on international platforms repeatedly. You look at the OIC, you look at the ICJ,
Sir,
UNSC,
sir, please.
Donald Trump, asking
Sir,
Imran
please.
Khan to turn down his
Sir,
rhetoric.
please,
Everywhere.
no one,
But why?
Mr. Razak, no one is denying the opposition any right to criticize. In fact, the BJP has also said we welcome the criticism. I think you're deliberately trying to twist the question to suit a particular narrative. But you tell me, Mr. Razak, 1 minute. You tell me something. Rahul Gandhi came out and said draconian administration and brute force unleashed. Brute force. And that is the comment that is being highlighted.
Today is
1 minute.
Muharram, the day of Ashura. Those people, Muslims,
I want to ask
are
you.
not allowed to go to Imam Badas.
Mr.
They are not
Razak,
allowed to go to their Ashur
Mr.
Baras.
Razak, in
And you say
Pakistan,
this
they
is
don't even
normal.
celebrate Muharram in Pakistan. Let me tell you this. It's not even celebrated.
That is their problem, but
No,
in
not
Kashmir,
their
they do
problem. So
celebrate
don't
every
make this
year.
about a Hindu-Muslim
They do
issue.
celebrate
Don't
every
make
year.
this about a
It
Hindu-Muslim
is-
issue. I resent that. Don't
No,
change the
what I'm saying is
goalpost.
that
You
is
address
their
the
basic
issue.
right
You
to
address the
celebrate
issue.
Muharram.
1 minute.
They are
Sir,
not
does the
allowed,
Islamic
and you
faith...
call it-
No, 1 minute. You answer me this question. On that particular intervention of yours, let me ask you a counter question. Does the Islamic faith, sir, promote terrorism? No, it doesn't. Does it condone it? No. Does it condone
No.
stone pelting? No. So then,
But what is the fault of all those?
No, so on this
leaders,
holy
Rahul, who have
day,
been
on this
arrested
holy
under
day, and let me
preventive
take your
custody and
mind
are
back,
still
sir, to
arrested,
Eid.
and still the
On
government
Eid
goes
day,
out
there were
to say
terror
that
attacks.
this is
On
Kashmir
Eid
is
day, there
normal,
were
but
terror
it is not
attacks.
normal.
So don't preach sanctimony.
Razakji
No,
wants
once
blood on the
don't
streets.
preach. Sir,
No,
don't
Razakji
preach
wants
sanctimonious.
blood
No,
on
no,
the
no,
streets.
no. Don't
My
peddle half-truths in
contention
this
is-
show. 1 minute.
My contention is.
You get to the
My
point.
contention is domestically and
You
on
want
international
murder,
platform,
mayhem.
when
Sir,
India
is
body bags.
Rahul
not-
Gandhi's
that is what you want.
statement draconian
That is why
administration and
you are
brute force
disappointed.
unleashed
Will question
a
the
criticism
last
of propaganda?
Only
Mr.
four fatalities
Srivastava,
have
I want to
occurred,
ask
all
you
of
this
them
question.
because
Fair
of
enough,
terrorism.
criticize the
close the-
government. But where does criticism stop and
future
propaganda
oriented
begin?
concept for all.
Where does criticism stop and
Press
fakery begin?
conference.
I want to ask you this question, Mr.
Select them
Srivastava,
where
and
you-
answer me. Do you believe draconian administration and brute force have been unleashed by the Indian state is a criticism, or is it propaganda? You tell me. Is it political propaganda, or is it, sir?
Well, can I very quickly make my points? I think it was again wrong on his part to say draconian administration.
Why?
And he shouldn't have said that.
No, why?
Rahul
Why?
Gandhi
Why, sir?
or
Why?
Ghulam Nabi Azad shouldn't have
No,
talked
why?
about concentration
Why?
camps.
Answer the
Let
question,
me
why?
complete. No, please. If you are
No, please answer the question. Why was it wrong?
Because they were not substantiated.
Not substantiated.
But because they
Razak.
had no evidence.
Mr.
If
Razak,
they
that's
had,
the point.
It was not substantiated.
When you
But
make
allow me to complete. Sorry,
unsubstantiated comments,
please,
you
Rahul,
begin
allow
to
me
peddle
allow me
propaganda.
to complete my point. But at the same time, when on your panel, on this show, Rahul, I want to say something. On this show, if the BJP spokesperson refers to comments of the panelists, fellow panelists, as people trying to endear themselves to Pakistan, is that also not unsubstantiated propaganda?
Let me bring him
trying
in.
to put people in boxes.
Amit
How do
Malviya,
you
what were you
condone
trying
that?
to
No, it
say?
isn't.
How
I
do you
have
condone
evidence
that?
to say so.
When we are talking about, and he
What
may
evidence?
not be referring
Quote
to
your
me.
evidence.
He may
You
not
know,
be referring
I
to me
have
or to anybody
evidence.
else, but he said.
I have
so
evidence
It's not
where
fair.
some people on this panel have gone on foreign media and referred to the state of Jammu and Kashmir as Indian occupation. There are people on this panel, and Mr. Srivastava, you surely don't want me to name them unless you want to embarrass them on this show.
No, who are these people?
And please
No, but I
don't
think
pretend as if you don't know
my
that there
only
are
point
people who
is,
are
Amit,
who were
Mr.
invitees
Malviya,
to
my
the
only-
5 events
my-
in
my
America
only
and were
point
not.
is- my
Don't tell
only
me you're so
point
naive
is,
that you
even
don't
if
know that half
my
the
only
media
point
fraternity
is-
in
my-
India
No,
has been on
who
payrolls
said
of
that
various
India
Pakistani
occupies
agents.
Kashmir? Who on this
My
panel
only
said it?
point-
I mean, if
Amit
you
Malviya.
were a
My
newbie
only
in journalism,
point-
I would
my
have
only-
taken that
my
from
only
you,
point-
but not
No,
otherwise.
let me
Please
complete
name-
my point.
Please name the journalist who said India occupied
My
Kashmir.
point is that even if somebody says that, we are
Anand
a strong,
Ranganathan wants you to
vibrant,
name the
thriving
journalist. Who said it,
democracy,
sir?
To take that
Who's
in
the
the right
panelist?
spirit, rather than
No,
say,
no. What do you
rather
mean by
than saying
what do you
that
mean by if
somebody
anybody
is
says
endearing
so? You
Pakistan
asked
or
me
the
a
people.
question
Right.
and I gave
Let
you a
us
pointed
respect
answer.
each other's opinion.
Sir, Mr. Malviya, respond quickly. I need to move
Well,
on.
if your
Only point
opinion
was-
are
Amit
contrary
Malviya,
to
I'm
facts,
asking
then
a
you will be
even
called
somebody
out.
said
I'm
that.
asking a straight question. Please name the journalist who said there should be a referendum in Jammu and Kashmir and Indian occupied Kashmir. Please name the journalist.
Cut and paste.
It's a straight question.
Well, I'm sure the journalist
ahead,
on this
Amit, I'm very
In
panel
any case, I
should
think
raise
we
her
want to say
hand
something to
and
me.
say that it was her or him.
Please tell us.
Okay.
Please tell us what precisely you are referring to.
Please.
When what you are talking about, tell us. Instead of making allusions, tell us. I have enough of a nice lynch mob here. Carry on. Tell us. Please tell us. Because I go with facts.
point
Please
Well,
tell me.
I think
Amit
Mr.
Malviya, are you
Srivastava will
referring to
speak
the
for that.
doctored
Don't
videos
particularly like.
which
It doesn't
which
mean
your
that they
party
become
cell
anti-national
is accused of
or
creating.
trying to endear themselves to Pakistan.
Okay, anyhow, let's not
That was the
personalize this
only
debate. The
request
fact of
to
the matter is,
BJP
viewers,
spokesperson.
I am
He's
drawing a
mature
very
young man.
firm
Yes.
distinction here. That firm
A 5-year-old,
distinction.
that too you found
Okay, one minute.
something
Saban
5-year-old.
Naqvi, let's not
You
make
can-
this
you can
about
get more
individuals.
topical, yaar. Get
You
more
have a right to
topical.
say whatever you want to
Baat
as long as you can substantiate it. But I don't want to
Manufactured,
get
cut
into
and
their
paste. You
side
want to go
debate
with
and your
that?
side show.
Please.
Let me very quickly
Yeah.
set the record straight. The record
And
must speak and reflect.
and
Please
also,
allow me,
Rahul, if
allow
we
me,
want
Mr.
to
Srivastava. I
rubbish
need to move on.
UNHRC, then
The
why do we
record
discuss
must
this?
state in uncertain terms tonight that no one has a problem with the opposition or journalists or NGOs criticizing the government. No one. I don't think any in this panel have a problem with that, as long as it is responsible criticism, not based on unsubstantiated, untrammeled rumor. Because when that happens, viewers,
like what
then
Shehla Rashid
it
did.
is no longer criticism, it is propaganda. and then propaganda can be used by India's enemies to try and embarrass it in foreign districts and theaters like the United Nations. India is a very responsible superpower, emerging, responsible state, which is trying to claim a greater role. It doesn't deserve to be trashed on the basis of rumors. That's all we want to say. But viewers, there's been another remarkable development today. After 70 long years, Pakistan has finally admitted that it has no claim over Jammu and Kashmir as the state is Indian territory. The unprecedented admission came from Pakistan Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi as he walked out of the UNHRC session. Shah Mahmood Qureshi refers to Jammu and Kashmir as Indian state. Qureshi's admission comes after his UNHRC address. He was very charged up in Geneva. Pakistan's foreign minister admits the Kashmir truth. Listen to this.
If the life has returned to normalcy, then I say, why don't they allow you, the international media, why don't they allow international organizations, the NGOs, civil society organizations to go into the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir and see for themselves. Into the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir and see for themselves. Into the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. Into the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. Into the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir and see for themselves.